Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
I'm a television news producer for 6 ABC here in Philadelphia, the #1 news station in the city, and has been for decades, even before I was alive, between all the folks in the newsroom, the anchor, the reporters, managing the entire team. And then, like I said, I come up with the playbook, and then once we go on air, I hand that playbook off to our director, and they're the ones that start calling the shots during the show, and my job is to make sure that, content's flowing and we're on air and off air. I do the same thing every day, but it's not the same thing every day because you never know what's going to go on in the world. Our brand now and most media, you have access. We have our website, we have our social media, so people are just getting their news constantly throughout the day, not just during our show.
What up, y'all? This is Airey Bros Radio, and this is episode 29 with Jamie Pschorr. Jamie Pschorr is the Channel 6 ABC Philadelphia evening news producer, marathon extraordinaire, November Project enthusiast, and most important of all, cousin to the Airey Bros.
Keeping it all in the family on episode 29. Someone who's been an inspiration to me and you. We get to give it to the world. Richie, our cousin Jamie, who's gone out, done her own thing, always chased her dreams and let them take her where they may have gone. Arkansas, Florida. We talk about that on the show now, Philadelphia. So Jamie's always been an inspiration to me. Follow your dreams, and if you want to go do something that seems out of the realm of possibility, just chip away at it piece by piece, and next thing you know, your news producer.
Yeah, it's always been an inspiration. Right out of college, Jamie hightailed it down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, spent a few years there, and then shortly after a couple of years there, was off to Orlando to work and spent a good amount of time in Orlando, and then has moved over to Philadelphia. So that's always been an inspiration for me. Growing up in New Jersey, I always had this yearning desire to get out of New Jersey, and for me it was going to California at first, that manifest destiny. But whether it's getting out and doing something new, whether it's making a change in starting to work out or to lose weight or whatever it is, the hardest part about making a change is always taking that first step or getting out that door. And Jamie did that right away, and so that was something I always looked at was, well, if Jamie can do it, it can be done, and you just got to go for it and do it. And so that has always been an inspiration. But believe it or not, Jamie had run multiple marathons before I had ever run a marathon as well too. So she's, I can remember in high school when we were at the same cross country meets and stuff, her repping Tom's Reese, me repping the Panthers at Point Borough. But yeah, she's been a lifelong athlete and has always continued to do that and take it seriously, but also have a good attitude about it and always kind of wanting to have fun first and foremost. But yeah, she ran a marathon back in the day when you could bandit Boston, and she did that when she was in college. And now this year will mark her 9th Boston Marathon, and soon to be the 10th. You get to 9, you can't not do 10, no matter what. As much as you may be over it, you have to do it. And we recorded this in the summer, and we discussed Jamie's build-up and preparation for Chicago. But since then, Jamie has run Chicago, and in doing that, she also ran a PR. So she ran 3 hours, 19 minutes, and 58 seconds for the Chicago Marathon, which was a PR for her. And she has qualified for Boston as well and has gotten in. So we'll be doing Boston in April here, but it was just great to catch up with her and talk about being in Philadelphia, what the inner workings are of working in news. And then also we picked her brain a little bit about November Project because we still have to go check that out.
Yeah, it was good to get Jamie on the call and talk to her about what goes into being a television producer in film school right now, film and television. So to get a little bit of background or a little bit of an inside look of what Jamie does and how she has to act on the fly. And sometimes you're writing scripts and you're not even using them because news is happening and, stuff gets thrown to social media and goes into the social media aspect, how that has impacted, television news. So, yeah, man, I know we say it every week, but super stoked on this. Every podcast we put out always means something to us, and this one has a little bit of meaning because it's a family member who's gone out, done her own thing, been an inspiration. I mean, Jamie was my babysitter back in the day. To see her as a producer. I remember when we were going to Six Flags and going to the Seaside Boardwalk, on the reg when she was watching me, and see where she is now and how she stays on running. Something growing up in our family, when we went on vacations, we all go for runs in the morning and stuff, and that kind of has kept with us all, and it's awesome to see Jamie out there still running PRs and still out there having fun. So you ready to give it to him, Richie Rich?
Yeah, and talking about the news and stuff and how things change on the fly. It actually happened the day that we were talking to her where unfortunately there was a cop shooting, I believe it was, in Philadelphia. So that kind of took over the news for that day when we actually were speaking to her live in real time. And so we got a glimpse of how, you may have a plan and that can go out the window in a second. And I think that's also something that could, lead to her having the attitude that she has in training and racing and stuff, where it's like you've got to be adaptable. You've got to be able to change on the fly. And as you and I both know, sometimes we don't have, or at least I don't have the best ability to just change things on the fly. If my routine or something sometimes gets out of whack, sometimes I don't always have that carefree attitude, and that can kind of set me down a different road or a different path for the day. And in the ability to have to do that day to day is probably helps her tremendously with racing and training and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you don't even think of how your normal life helps you for training and vice versa. And like you said, not getting attached to stories, not getting attached to, hey, I just spent all night writing this up and we got to throw it on Twitter. The show must go on, and giving the news to the people, that that's part of it. You got to give them the most important, most imperative information first. So it was good to see that aspect of things and talk about that aspect of things, because that's something I don't think of just watching the news. I don't think most people think of that stuff, what goes into putting a newscast together.
Yeah, no, I mean, unless you're in that industry, you probably don't have any idea. And she said she gets there pretty early in the morning, and she's still there through when the news goes on. So she's putting in, 10, 12-hour days probably sometimes, especially if all of something like that day we were talking to her comes up, and then,
she got to go in.
That changes everything. So, yeah, it was really cool to talk. I think we got to, next time, maybe home for the holidays or whatever, we got to start slipping in some more conspiracy theories, or just hitting her with some facts about CIA implants and
Operation
stuff like
Paperclip.
That. But we'll get to her. I didn't want to have that kind of a conversation online, so they'll save that for another day. But yeah, it's all love, and anytime we can talk to people that are doing cool shit, whether they're family members or people that we were friends with or just people that we've come in contact with in our travels, it makes for a great episode. So, like you said, we say this every week, but again, this is another one of my favorites, and I'm stoked to present this to everyone and give them Jamie Pschorr, cousin, marathoner extraordinaire. You got anything else?
Let's do it, dog.
All right, y'all. This is episode 29 with Jamie Pschorr. Sit back, relax, enjoy today's episode. Much love. Namaste. From the boys of 1512.
I should have done my 3, 2, 1 countdown.
Well, we're going to talk about all that, so I guess we can start off. we kind of know what you do, but we kind of don't know what you do. Kind of a big deal. So why don't you just give the people a little bit of background about what it is that you do and what you bring to the great people of Philadelphia on a daily basis.
Sure. I am not a big deal, but I do have a job like most people every day, but mine is maybe a little bit different than most. I am a television news producer for 6 ABC here in Philadelphia, the number one news station in the city, and has been for decades, even before I was alive. So it's a great honor to work for the station. I am currently the producer for the 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, and have the honor of working with Jim Gardner, who's been the news anchor here.
Shout out to Jim Gardner.
Years. Jim Gardner, yep. He is the man here in Philadelphia.
How's my girl Cicely doing?
Oh, Cicely, she's still giving the people of the Delaware and Lehigh Valleys their forecast every day.
Right on.
She's still running, but not much so competitively anymore. She, her kids are all the active ones, and she's focused on them right now. So, but her big thing right now, she loves water skiing, so she's currently doing that here. And then in the winter months, she's going down to Florida, so she's all over the place doing that, staying active.
Right on. What goes into being a evening news producer? What does that entail?
So essentially, my day is we go in, we have a morning meeting at 9 a.m. Me, the other producers of the evening shows, so we go on at 4 in the afternoon, and we go through 6:30, my show, and we have a producer for each half hour. So we have executive producers and our news directors sort of come up with the rundown for the day, decide what stories are hot topics going on in the area. And from there, we assign the reporters to what they're going to be doing for the day. And, obviously this is all just preliminary because, as you know, things happen. So sometimes things I've worked on all day long get tossed out the window when there's breaking news. There's actually currently a big news story going on right now. I was watching the news before I came on with you all. A couple police officers shot, so they're going wall-to-wall coverage with that. So everything they've worked on all day is now out the window because there's this major story going on, either here locally or even nationally when things happen. But then throughout the day, what I do is, I like to say I come up with a rundown, sort of like the playbook, to use a sports analogy. And I do a lot of the writing between me, my anchor, and I usually have a writer. And then when we go on air, so if you're watching a 30-minute newscast, I do a lot of the writing. I've got Jim, who's also writing, and typically a writer. And so whatever the reporter's not doing, all those other, shorter stories in between and tosses to reporters, that's what we do. And any graphics that you may see on air, I request that from our art department. So I work visually, both content, editorially and visually, working with everyone in the news department.
So to go back to that sports analogy, are you like the head coach of the 6 o'clock news?
Yes, I'm working with a lot of personalities between all the folks in the newsroom, the anchor, the reporters, managing the entire team. And then, like I said, I come up with the playbook, and then once we go on air, I hand that playbook off to our director, and they're the ones that start calling the shots during the show, and my job is to make sure that content's flowing and we're on air and off air on time.
And so you're there during this actual 6 o'clock news? Because you said you go in at 9, right?
Absolutely, yep. And, like I said, I'm in the back room. It's me, a director, and the director this day and age with all the automation. They're also not only calling the shots, they have to roll cameras and they have to do audio. And then, I'm right next to the director with the headset on, talking to the anchors and reporters.